Chapter 208 Twin Holy Dragons of Black and White. Who are you? Shook his head and replied, no, this isn't considered any contribution. Without the academy, there's no me. Elder Sun, how are you? Elder Sun smiled upon seeing the deep affection in his eyes, and replied, I'm good. Your compatriots are also fine. Tell me what went on today. I didn't expect that the Dragon Emperor Douluo Long Xiao was still alive. Who are you? Recounted how he had extorted Jing Chen, and how he had expected the journey back not to be a smooth one after he managed to reach an agreement with him. He also explained how he had met Long Xiao and Jiang Peng along the way, as well as how he made the bet with Long Xiao. After hearing his account, Elder Sun was stunned. He was clearly aware of the cultivation of an ultimate Douluo. Even though Huo Yuao was given a huge advantage in the bet, it was still a miracle that he could win a bet against Long Xiao, given his age. However, Elder Sun also couldn't help but furrow his brow. The reappearance of the Dragon Emperor Douluo, as well as his standing opposite Shrek, was definitely not good news. After sighing, Elder Sun muttered to himself, Elder Mu, only after you left did I realize how heavy the responsibility of the Hallmaster of the Sea Gods Pavilion is. It would be great if you were still around. It's not just all sorts of evil spirits that have appeared. Even your old friend, the Dragon Emperor Douluo, has resurfaced. Who are you? Asked. Elder Sun, what conflict did the Dragon Emperor Douluo have with Teacher? Elder Sun replied, they have a deep-seated conflict with each other. They aren't just opponents and friends. They will love rivals too. As he spoke, Elder Sun unleashed his Class 8 flying type soul tool and increased his flying speed sharply. He reduced the depletion of his soul power, and his soul power protected both him and Huo Yuao. He had a reminiscing look in his eyes. Elder Mu came from the blue lightning tyrant dragon bloodline that has been around for tens of thousands of years. The blue lightning tyrant dragon can transform into a radiant holy dragon and become the best martial soul in the world. Elder Mu was one who benefited from this transformation. When he was 6 years old, he completed the awakening of his martial soul and was greatly nurtured by his family. Shrek Academy shares close relationships with many soul master aristocrats on the continent. The blue lightning tyrant dragons are naturally included. The legacy of the blue lightning tyrant dragons has been passed down for ages. One of the founders of Shrek Academy was one of them. Tens of thousands of years ago, they were once attacked, and it almost led to the destruction of their legacy. Although this legacy was indeed passed down, there weren't many who can inherit it. In every generation, there is only one person who inherits the legacy. The leader of the blue lightning tyrant dragons came to our academy and suggested that Elder Mu be admitted to the academy earlier. The academy agreed after weighing things. That's why Elder Mu entered the academy when he was only 8 years old. At that point, his soul power had already reached rank 20. No one has been able to break his record since then. 10 years later, Elder Mu captained Team Shrek in the Elite Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Soul Dueling Tournament. At that point, Elder Mu had reached rank 69 even though he was just 18 years old. He was only one step away from breaking the bottleneck and obtaining a martial soul true body. This was undoubtedly a shocking achievement, even though the current Shrek 7 monsters were very outstanding, and 3 of them even had twin martial souls. None of them were at Elder Mu's standard. Bei Bei and Shu Sanchi were only at rank 63 and rank 64. Furthermore, they were already 20 years old. Elder Sun continued. During that tournament, Elder Mu met Long Xiao and another young woman soul master for the first time. Elder Mu's martial soul was the radiant holy dragon, while Long Xiao's martial soul coincidentally directly conflicted with his. Long Xiao possessed the darkness holy dragon, which is also a martial soul that forms after a transformation. It was always very difficult to tell whether light or darkness would win. The two of them could only fight using their cultivation. At that point, Elder Mu's soul power was slightly superior, and he defeated Long Xiao in the finals. At that point in time, the only female soul master that could match up to the both of them was called Yu Shishui. She was ravishing, and her abilities were also very strong. After that fight, the 3 of them learned to respect one another. Eventually, Elder Mu led Shrek Academy to victory. Long Xiao's academy were the runners-up, while Yu Shishui's team was among the top 4. After the tournament, I'm not sure what happened after they graduated from their respective academies. I only know that Elder Mu, Long Xiao, and Yu Shishui bumped into each other after we graduated. The 3 of them slowly became close friends after they challenged one another. They sparred, cultivated, and traveled the continent together. They were budding young talents at that point in time, and they were also very competitive. Each of them hoped to trump the other 2 in his or her ability. Although they were close friends, they were also close competitors. They did some things that shocked the world of soul masters then, and their abilities improved significantly. Elder Mu and Long Xiao also developed feelings for Yu Shishui. Perhaps it was because they were friends, or maybe it was because both of them wanted to completely beat the other party before they confessed their feelings, but neither of them confessed to Yu Shishui. In the blink of an eye, 10 years passed, and they became 8-ring soul Douluos. They were even on their way to becoming titled Douluos before they were 30 years old. At that point, Elder Mu and Long Xiao couldn't control their feelings anymore. However, they were very close, and didn't want to hurt each other, but they didn't want to give up either. That's why they gave the final choice to Yu Shishui. That day, they went to find Yu Shishui together and confessed at the same time. Yu Shishui was asked to choose between the both of them. However, she had feelings for both of them. Their cultivations and personalities were similar, so there wasn't any way for her to choose. That's why Yu Shishui proposed that they fight a year later, and she would date the winner. Seriously? Who are you? I was shocked as he asked. Matters of the heart can be decided in this manner. Elder Sun glanced at him with a meaningful look in his eyes and replied, you might get into such a situation one day. This matter even motivated a tradition in Shrek Academy. Who won the fight a year later? Who are you? Asked. Elder Sun answered, no one. What? Who are you? Was confused as he looked at him. Elder Sun sighed and said, that's because neither of them went. After they separated that day, Elder Mu and Long Xiao pondered over the matter deeply. Eventually, their yearning for love didn't win over their rationality. They were both aware that their cultivations were too similar. If they went all out, both parties would only be hurt. However, they were friends and even brothers. That's why they both made a logical and self-proclaimed wise decision, giving up. However, they each didn't expect the other to make the same choice. Their common choice also hurt Yu Shishui. Yu Shishui waited at the rendezvous spot for 3 days, but neither of them appeared. She was a very proud person, and stormed off in a fury. Both Elder Mu and Long Xiao believed that Yu Shishui was with the other person. They decided to focus on their cultivation after moping for a period of time. They didn't look for each other because they didn't want to be reminded of their sad past. In the blink of an eye, 10 more years passed. Elder Mu and Long Xiao formed their own families. At this point, Yu Shishui came to Shrek Academy suddenly to find Elder Mu. They were all titled Douluo at that point in time. Elder Mu was engulfed by emotions as he saw Yu Shishui again and didn't know what to say. However, he didn't expect Yu Shishui to suggest a challenge. Although he was confused, he had no choice, and was forced by her to accept the challenge. When they broke up 11 years ago, Yu Shishui's cultivation was inferior to both Elder Mu and Long Xiao's. However, she was now extremely strong after she returned to find Elder Mu. Elder Mu was almost on the brink of losing as he fought her. However, he had a solid foundation, and emerged victorious using his sovereign's descent. He was shocked to realize that Yu Shishui's martial soul now carried an evil aura. Elder Mu's teacher, who was also my grandmaster, was a hallmaster of the Sea Gods Pavilion then. He pointed out that Yu Shishui had become an evil soul master. He wanted to make her stay and cripple her cultivation. Even though Elder Mu had a family, Yu Shishui was still a very memorable person from his past. He pleaded on her behalf and hoped that grandmaster could let her go. However, the grandmaster didn't listen to Elder Mu's pleas, as he believed that she was too dangerous given her cultivation. He kept her in Shrek Academy, but didn't do anything to her because of Elder Mu. However, nobody knew that a bunch of evil soul masters would appear a few days later. They were led by an extremely strong evil soul master, and fought against my grandmaster. Both sides suffered heavy losses, but the strongest evil soul master was dealt a lethal blow. The only downside was that Yu Shishui was rescued. Before Yu Shishui left, she gave Elder Mu a hateful look. From then on, Elder Mu became very depressed. He didn't understand why Yu Shishui became like that. Not only did she become an evil soul master, but she was even mixed in with a bunch of evil soul masters. Furthermore, my grandmaster was critically hurt, which broke the last bit of fancy Elder Mu had towards her. Elder Mu accompanied my grandmaster until he recovered from his injuries. After that, he was very eager to find Long Xiao to get to the bottom of why Yu Shishui ended up in this state. At that point in time, he was filled with rage. When Elder Mu found him, the anger that he had suppressed erupted. Before Long Xiao could even explain, he already attacked him. The battle between the twin holy dragons of Black and White resulted in a slight victory for Elder Mu, but their cultivations were still around the same. On account of their brotherly ties, Elder Mu decided to spare Long Xiao. After the fight, Elder Mu and Long Xiao talked about what had happened over the past 10 years. years. They were shocked to realize that they had both made the same decision. Elder Mu also understood why Yu Shishui came to Shrek Academy to challenge him. They both understood her character, and they felt very guilty towards her. My grandmaster was hurt because of Yu Shishui. Although he regained his health, he was never able to recover completely. After Elder Mu and Long Xiaya discussed things, they decided to find Yu Shishui. Regardless of what had happened, they needed to clarify things with her. That was how the twin holy dragons of black and white resurfaced in the continent. They were both titled Douluos then, and they possessed immense abilities and martial souls. Their reputations rose, and that was how their twin holy dragons title were established. That was also how they became known as the dragon god Douluo and the dragon emperor Douluo. Huo felt like he was returning to the past as Elder Sun related this story. He could completely imagine the two titled Douluo causing an uproar on the continent. When can I become a titled Douluo? That was basically the dream of every soul master. Huo was dragged back to reality as he sighed. Elder Sun looked a little upset. They searched the continent for years, and finally found her. They almost couldn't recognize her when they found her. She was only 30-some years old, but her hair was greyish-white, as if she were a 40 or 50-year-old woman. Not only did she appear much more haggard, but she was also engulfed by a very sharp and vicious evil aura. Grandmaster's worry was realized. Yu Shishui's abilities were way beyond the expectations of Elder Mu and Long Xiaya. When she saw the two of them again, she immediately attacked them. The shocking twin holy dragons of black and white were on the losing end after they were attacked by her. Even when they combined their powers, they still seemed a little lacking. They were horrified to find out that Yu Shishui's abilities had already reached the level of a transcendent Douluo. The abilities of a transcendent evil soul master were unimaginable. The two of them were no match for her at all. They were eventually defeated badly and critically hurt. However, she didn't kill them. She interrogated them and demanded to know why they had humiliated her. Yu Shishui was a very proud person. She believed they had both abandoned her. The humiliation she felt caused the change in her. Elder Mu and Long Xiaya laughed bitterly as they looked at each other. They recounted what they had thought then. Yu Shishui didn't believe them at the start, but they were already on the verge of death then, and couldn't possibly lie. Yu Shishui's emotions changed drastically, and she saved the both of them. After 20 years apart, the three of them sat together once again. However, their friendship wasn't as close as before. Yu Shishui told them that the person who went to save her at Shrek Academy was her husband. After her husband returned, he died from his injuries. Before her husband died, he poured half of his cultivation into her, which pushed her to becoming a transcendent Douluo-level evil soul master. Elder Mu didn't expect things to reach such a stage, and was stunned for a moment. A combination of factors caused the initial misunderstanding to evolve into such a state. This was something none of them could have expected. Long Xiaya asked Yu Shishui why she became an evil soul master. She told them that she was enraged when neither of them came and decided to cultivate tirelessly before seeking them out to avenge her humiliation. However, she went mad because she was too impatient. At that point in time, she met her future husband, who was a powerful evil soul master. His name was Zhongli. After he saved her, he forced her to have a relationship with him and guided his evil powers into her martial soul. This caused a transformation in Yu Shishui's martial soul, and she became an evil soul master. She hated Elder Mu and Long Xiaya, but she also hated her husband. She believed that the three of them had ruined her life, when in fact, everything that happened to her was because of her pride. Since things had reached such a stage, Elder Mu and Long Xiaya didn't know what to do. Yu Shishui wasn't the same person as before, and their feelings for her changed. She didn't kill them, but made them take an oath. From that point on, they could no longer call each other brothers. 10 years later, they had to fight to the death at the exact place where they were supposed to fight before. Only one could survive. Otherwise, she would kill their entire families. As they had no choice, Elder Mu and Long Xiaya took this oath. Although they could tell that Yu Shishui's personality had changed, their guilt and past feelings for Yu Shishui forced them to accede to her request. Elder Mu told me that both he and Long Xiaya blamed each other then. If neither of them had given up, things wouldn't have reached that stage. 10 years later, the twin holy dragons met again. They fought intensely under Yu Shishui's eyes. Eventually, both of them were critically hurt. However, something strange happened to Yu Shishui then. She didn't look as old and haggard as before, but as ravishing as how she looked in the past. Since neither of them could kill the other, she said another fight 10 years later. This carried on, and both Elder Mu and Long Xiaya were already 100 years old after a few decades. They had become transcendent Douluo too. At that point, Yu Shishui disappeared. She sent news that this fight would be their last, and only one would survive. Otherwise, she would destroy the entire continent. Yu Shishui was already at rank 98 then. Elder Mu and Long Xiaya weren't her match. The two of them realized that Yu Shishui had seen through their ploy, critically hurting one another without killing each other in their fights. After 100 years, the twin holy dragon's feelings for her had deepened once again. Elder Mu told me that Yu Shishui was the only woman he had ever truly loved in his life. This was also the same for Long Xiaya. In fact, both of them were powerful enough to deploy people to kill Yu Shishui. However, they didn't do so. Yu Shishui also understood their feelings for her. In the last message she sent them, she told them that she had already put down the hatred she had for them. However, she could only be with the winner. This was also their last punishment. The person who won would marry her. At that point in time, Elder Mu and Long Xiaya's wives had already passed away. Elder Sun sighed again as he stopped speaking for a minute. Huo asked hurriedly, who was the eventual winner? Elder Sun shook his head and said, there wasn't any winner. They didn't fight that last battle. Before it could take place, Elder Mu and Dubussy's brother fought very intensely, and he was irreversibly hurt in the process. That fight took place the day before he was to fight Long Xiaya. According to Elder Mu, Dubussy's brother was sent there by Long Xiaya. After he was hurt so badly, Elder Mu took many years to restore his vitality. However, he couldn't return to his glory days as the radiant holy dragon, and became just like how you knew him. From then on, Long Xiaya never appeared again. Elder Mu believed that he was together with Yu Shishui. Huo was furious. Long Xiaya was so despicable. He still dares to call teacher his brother. Elder Sun replied calmly, it's hard to judge something like this. I guess only Long Xiaya knows what happened. I didn't expect that he would reappear after 100 years. I don't know if Yu Shishui is still alive. Evil soul masters are unlikely to live past 200 years old. I'm afraid that he might have been influenced by her and become an evil soul master as well. If that's the case, it's going to be a disaster. Huo shook his head and answered, I don't think he has. When I fought him just now and used teacher's sovereign's descent, I clashed with his spiritual power. I could tell that it was as vast as the starry sky. However, there weren't any characteristics of an evil soul master within it. Huo's spiritual power was very sensitive even though his cultivation wasn't high. Furthermore, he was also a necromancer. He firmly believed that his senses weren't wrong. Elder Sun said, that's great. However, Long Xiaya was obviously here on behalf of the illustrious Virtue Hall. There was also the scorpion tiger Douluo, Jiankang. This is very unusual. Long Xiaya's from the Heavenly Soul Empire. He shouldn't be mixing with those from the Sun Moon Empire. Sun Moon Empire. If he's really being used by the Sun Moon Empire, it means huge trouble. Huo suddenly thought of a possibility. Elder Sun, do you think that the Dragon Emperor Douluo has something to do with the Holy Ghost Church that we discovered? Perhaps it was even created by the Sun Moon Empire. Elder Sun furrowed his brow and said, impossible. I noticed that Long Xiaya still cares about his brotherly ties with Elder Mu. Otherwise, all of you would have perished long before we reached you. I don't think there's anyone capable of challenging the Dragon Emperor Douluo in a duel. Not even Dubussy can match up to him. Huo said, I feel like this Dragon Emperor Douluo is one who cherishes promises. He came for the rare and valuable materials I snagged. However, he decided to give up after he lost. Can we exploit this aspect of his personality? Elder Sun shook his head and replied, the Dragon Emperor Douluo has been around for 200 years. He won't be that easy to deal with. However, I'm certain that he won't attack Shrek Academy. Initially, he received Grandmaster's guidance when he was acquainted with Elder Mu, and also spent some time in Shrek Academy. The Academy can be considered his benefactor, as long as he doesn't become an evil soul master. I won't think he's one to repay kindness with ingratitude. After ascertaining the Dragon Emperor Douluo's background, Huo felt a little heavy-hearted. Like time and tide waited for no man. He was a very long way away from the abilities of the truly strong individuals. After Elder Mu passed, Shrek's strongest individual was now Elder Sun. With Elder Sun's rank 98 abilities as a transcendent Douluo, he was strong, enough to terrorize almost anyone. However, Dubussy's and Long Xiaya's appearances shook Shrek Academy's stability greatly. Huo desired to contribute his strength to ensure the safety of the Academy. However, he knew that he wasn't strong enough. The only way he could reach that level was to cultivate tirelessly. Shrek City slowly came into view. Huo also focused his thoughts as he was about to return home. This welcoming feeling also alleviated the anxiety that he felt. He clenched his fists as he saw the majestic city wall in the distance. He still had a long way to go, but he needed to take it steadily, step by step. A storm was brewing on the continent, and the only thing he could do was become more powerful. It was only a few months until the elite continental advanced Soul Master Soul Dueling tournament. This time, the tournament was going to be held in the Sun Moon Empire. Without a doubt, this was going to be another intense tournament. He and his compatriots were going to be the main forces of Shrek Academy this time, and they were even going to compete as Shrek's 7 monsters. Everything started long ago defending Shrek's glory. Under Elder Sun's leadership, their group landed a few miles away from Shrek City. The defenses of Shrek City were pretty resolute. Even those from the city didn't dare to fly above it, lest it leads to misunderstandings, and this also applied to Shrek Academy members. As soul tools developed, all sorts of defense-type soul tools had been installed in Shrek City and Shrek Academy. The few miles that they had to walk was nothing to their group. When Huo Yuao saw the gate to Shrek Academy, he started to tear up. To him, this wasn't just an academy that had educated and nurtured him. It was his home. When he had left the Duke's mansion, he had told himself that he was an orphan from that point onwards. His mother had passed away, and he could only rely on himself. Shrek Academy was the place that had given him warmth, nurtured him into a talent, given him strength, and made him one of the best among those of the same age. He missed Shrek and everyone from Shrek right now. Everyone can return to rest. Yuao, you can stay in the Sea Gods Pavilion temporarily. I'll arrange a place for you to live after the activities end in a few days. The dormitory that you had on the Sea Gods Island has been allocated to someone else. Elder Sun told Huo Yuao. Activities? What activities? Huo Yuao was confused. Yan Xiaosh could tell what he was thinking, and smiled. Silly kid, have you forgotten? It's time for the inner courtyard test for the outer courtyard students. Huo Yuao only remembered that after Yan Xiaosh mentioned it, there was an entrance test for Shrek Academy's inner courtyard every year. It was targeted towards students of the senior grades in the outer courtyard. There were also other talented students from other academies that wanted to enter Shrek Academy's inner courtyard. They could use this chance to join the test with recommendations from their academies. If they passed, they could become a part of Shrek Academy's inner courtyard. However, it was very difficult for students from other academies to pass this test, as Shrek Academy's martial soul department was the best on the continent. If there were even one or two students from other academies that passed, it was considered very good. Most of the time, no outside students would make it in. When Huo Yuao first entered Shrek Academy, he had once wondered when it would be his turn to take the test to enter the inner courtyard. However, he was already a part of the Sea Gods Pavilion now, even though he was only 17 years old. Ding Yan, do you want me to take the test too? Huo Yuao said almost immediately. He was itching to take the test. Yan Xiaosh gave him a weird expression and laughed. Why? Do you want to strut your abilities in front of the rest of the students? You can if you want to. As he said this, Elder Sun and the other elders couldn't help but laugh. They had watched Huo Yuao grow up. Huo Yuao was Elder Mu's closed-door disciple, and a core figure among the new generation of Shrek's 7 monsters. If he couldn't pass the test, the ultimate soldier plan would be considered a failure. Huo Yuao turned red, and weakly retorted, I'm only worried that the other students will find it unfair if I don't take the test. Elder Sun was amused as he replied, enough. You don't have to take any tests. The fact that you can win a bet against the Dragon Emperor Douluo already proves that you've passed the test. If I use that as a standard, no student would be able to pass the test, apart from you. There'll be another test for you, and it'll be more difficult than the inner courtyard test. You'll be in trouble then. Another test for me? What is it? Huo Yuao asked curiously. Elder Sun's smile grew. You'll know when you know. Are you returning with us to the Sea Gods Pavilion? Huo Yuao shook his head and replied, no, I'd like to tour the academy since I've not been back for so long. All right. Elder Sun nodded and replied, your compatriots should know that you're back. Bei Bei and the rest are waiting for you at the Tang Sect. After you tour the academy, you can go and find them. All right. After passing a few more instructions to Huo Yuao, Elder Sun disappeared as a streak of light. The rest of the elders and the 2 deans also left. After returning to the academy, they didn't have to worry about Huo Yuao's safety anymore. Elder Senior and the rest are waiting for me at the Tang Sect. Then I should return to the Tang Sect first. As he thought of that point, Huo Yuao didn't enter the academy, instead making his way into Shrek City. At this point, a figure sprinted out from Shrek Academy, moving quite rapidly. As he turned around, this figure had already reached in front of him. It was a woman with a tall and slender figure. She wore a white warrior's robe with silver strappings. Her hair was covered by a bandana, and she wore a veil. It was early spring now, and the fields around Shrek Academy were flat. The winds also blew stronger during this period of time, and thus it was very common for ladies to be wearing veils. For some reason, Huo Yuao felt as if he had met this woman before. At this point, the bandana on the young lady's hair was blown off by the wind, and flew towards Huo Yuao. He grabbed hold of the bandana subconsciously. At this instant, his entire body stiffened, and he couldn't shift his gaze away from that young woman. As the bandana was blown off, the young lady's pinkish blue hair swayed with the wind as she made an exclamation of surprise. Her hair covered her entire back until it reached her hips, concealing the shape of her butt. As she turned back, her frantic-looking pinkish blue eyes met Huo Yuao's gaze. The moment that their eyes met, Huo Yuao felt that his spirit had left his body. The familiarity he felt, the beautiful gaze and the excitement that came from the bottom of his heart made it difficult for him to control his emotions. He almost blurted out 3 words immediately. Goddess of Light. Yes. Why was she so familiar to Huo Yuao? She looked exactly like the Goddess of Light. Huo Yuao almost went up to pull down her veil. You. Huo Yuao discovered that his voice was trembling. The young lady only panicked for an instant. She subconsciously used one hand to grab hold of her hair and extended her other hand towards Huo Yuao. Her hand was white and long, and seemed very familiar. Indeed, she looked exactly the same as the Goddess of Light. Huo Yuao felt his spirit screaming, give it back. The young lady's voice was very pleasing to the ears, as if birds were singing. Huo Yuao returned her bandana subconsciously. Before he had a chance to open his mouth, the young lady ran away with the bandana. A layer of golden light was subtly released from her body. By the time Huo Yuao was able to react, he was only left with the memory of a delicate figure. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.